We're closing in on the end of 2024. AI is every business's favorite buzzword, Canva bot affinity, and overall budgets feel like they might be getting tighter and tighter. So the question is Photoshop worth it? Well, the real question is Photoshop still worth it? Creators, designers, marketers, and more use Photoshop for a myriad of reasons. From robust editing tools down to AI integration through Adobe Firefly, Photoshop has become a staple in many people's processes. Now, while alternatives like GIMP and Affinity do exist, there is typically a trade-off in regard to them lacking something that Photoshop already has. And while it's easy to choose Photoshop due to the nature of it being an industry standard, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not using most of Photoshop. In fact, most people are probably only using 20% of what Photoshop can really do. Photoshop is an incredibly robust program, from its masking tools to its sometimes confusing art history brush. But chances are it's probably overkill for your day-to-day needs. Now, whether that's a good thing or bad thing comes down to your personal preferences and just how much the Adobe ecosystem is embedded into your production pipeline. In my opinion, it's fine to have overkill as long as the program does what you need really well. Now, let's check out some pricing for individuals. For $22.99 a month, you can have access to Photoshop and Adobe Express Premium. This is what I call the marketer bundle. Adobe Express Premium is essentially Adobe's Canva. If you're not familiar with Adobe Express, then I recommend checking it out. While, to be frank, it didn't replace Canva for me outright when I needed something like that, it's still a very powerful tool, and again, it's already part of the Adobe ecosystem. For $19.99 a month, you have access to Photoshop and Lightroom. I call this the photographer bundle. If you're not going to be editing photos en masse, then chances are you're probably not going to open Lightroom. And for $59.99 a month, you have access to Creative Cloud. You have access to all the apps inside of Creative Cloud as well, but please keep this in mind. That does not include specific 3D apps. There is a 3D suite specifically for 3D production. So just keep that in mind with Creative Cloud that though it does say all apps, it's not actually all apps that Adobe provides. Now, to be frank, it is a bit frustrating that you can't get Photoshop by itself. So it becomes hard to really weigh the value of Photoshop because it's always going to come with some kind of bundle. It's going to come with Lightroom, or it's going to come with Adobe Express Premium or something like that. And don't be fooled by the listing here visually. It may just say Photoshop, but it's also coming with Adobe Express Premium, which is again its own tool set and is the equivalent to Canva. So it is a separate tool that's being included in this bundle. Because of these issues in the fairly recent lawsuit filed by the FTC and the Justice Department for predatory pricing with their subscription model, it's easy to recommend trying other software before using Photoshop. But like I mentioned earlier, overkill is fine as long as the program can do what you need really well. And Photoshop can do most things really well. So is Photoshop worth it? Well, if you're a marketer looking for cheap creative tools, then I think you'll find the most value using something like Canva. Now, if you're a designer with certain quality standards that you have to hit, then I think realistically you're going to end up using Photoshop with potentially a combination going into Illustrator as well, or using Affinity Suite. Now, this is less because of price versus value and more because you're going to need great design tools, and those are pretty much your options by default. But what do you think? Do you think that Photoshop's position as a staple tool in creative ecosystems is enough to justify that it comes with bloatware and the pricing? Or do you think alternatives like Affinity are becoming worth it more and more? Let me know in the comments.